Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Yes, Shadat, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Shadat, I'm going to discuss about classical, I mean, classics in translation. This is the name
Yes,
of
sir.
your course, right?
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to start with ancient Greece and Greek literature. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
You
sir.
can.
Yes, before starting the description or discussion of the books in your syllabus, I think it will be better if I discuss the background, the ancient
Yes.
Greece
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
and Greek literature. So ancient Greece, in fact, it was a civilization that dominated much of the Mediterranean thousands of years ago. And you must have heard the name of Alexander the Great, ancient Greek leader who ruled much of Europe and Western Asia. Actually, the Romans, they were much influenced by the Greeks. And Greece was a source of so many wonderful phenomena. For example, the Greeks, they, what should I say? I mean, they introduced the government system, philosophy, science, mathematics, art, literature, and even sports. Okay, they were the pioneers. They started all these things. So, ancient Greece, it is actually divided into three parts. There are three parts. Number one, Archaic Period or Archaic Greece. Number two, Classical Period or Classical Greece. Number three, Hellenistic Period or Hellenistic Greece. So first is,
Hello.
yes, Raihan, can you hear me? Raihan, can you hear me now? Hello, Raihan. I hope Shadat can hear me. Shadat, hello. Shadat, can you hear me?
Hello.
Shadat, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
I can hear.
So Munira has joined. I think Shohidul cannot hear me. Munira, Munira, Didar has joined now. Munira, can you hear me? Didar,
Yes, sir.
Didar, I hope you can hear me. Didar, can you hear me, Didar?
Yes, sir. I'm hearing you.
Okay, Munira, good. Okay, I have started discussing about the ancient Greece. Okay, ancient Greece was divided into, you know, I mean, we can divide the ancient Greece into three parts. Number one, Archaic period. Number two, classical period. Number three, Hellenistic period. All right. So, number one, Archaic period. What is Archaic period? Actually, in 800 BC, Greek civilization started, and the Archaic period also began from 800 BC to the introduction of democracy in 500 BC. I hope you can hear me. Uh, can you hear me, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So as I was saying, Archaic period started in 800 BC and up to 508 BC. That means it ended in 508 BC. This period, this archaic period, or this archaic Greece, saw the writing of Homer's Iliad and the Odyssey. Okay, Homer's, the Iliad and the Odyssey, these are two of the greatest epics. Okay, and these epics are from the Archaic period or Archaic Greece. Number two is classical period or classical Greece. So during this period, actually we see the presence of democracy, and there were great philosophers like Socrates, Plato, and also Aristotle. They were from this classical period, or we can also say classical Greece. And there was also clash between Sparta and Athens. Sparta was a city-state. Athens was another city-state. So Sparta and Athens, these two city-states used to fight with each other. You know, war, battle between Sparta and Athens. So I repeat, Sparta and Athens were two cities in Greece. Okay, so these are the three periods of ancient Greece. Number one, Archaic period. Number two, classical period. And number three, Hellenistic period. So Hellenistic period I'm discussing now. Actually, when Alexander the Great died, Alexander the Great, he died in 31 BC. Sorry, I have made a mistake here. Alexander the Great died in 323 BC. Okay, so Hellenistic period started in 323 BC and it ended in 31 BC. All right. So if anyone asks you ancient Greece was divided in how many parts? Munira?
3 parts.
3 parts. What are those? Number 1, Archaic Period. Number 2, Classical
sir.
Period.
Classic.
And number 3, Hellenistic Period.
Hellenistic period.
Okay. So now I'm going to share some interesting facts about ancient Greece. About 1/3 of the population of some city-states in Greece at that time, they were slaves.
Sir, can I tell something off topic?
If you have any questions, you can ask after my lecture. Would it be fine?
Yes. Okay. Sir.
Okay, you note it down. Everyone, you note your questions down, and after my lecture, you can ask me. All right?
Okay, sir.
Okay, great. Now, in ancient Greece, many of the people were slaves. And the Roman people, they actually copied Greek culture, including, Greek gods, architecture, language, and even how they ate. I am telling it simply again. The Roman people, okay, the Roman people, they copied the, culture of Greece. The Greek people, they believed in many gods and goddesses. Their way of, constructing buildings was different. Architecture was different. Language. The Romans, they followed all these things. In other words, we can say that the Romans were inspired by the Greeks. Even the concept of marathon, nowadays, marathon, you all know about marathon. It's a kind of, competition where so many competitors, they compete against one another. So marathon, the concept of marathon, it also started in Greece. So ancient Greek literature. Now I'm going to tell you something about ancient Greek literature. The ancient Greeks were amazing poets. They invented the Greek, poets, writers. They invented so many things. For example, they invented tragedy and comedy. Nowadays, you study, so many tragedies and comedies of different writers, but the concepts of tragedy and comedy, they came from ancient Greece. So if anyone asks you a question, where did tragedy and comedy come from? So you must say that tragedy and comedy came from the ancient Greece. The Greeks invented these. Another interesting fact is that about ancient Greek literature, the Greek writers, they used, events and characters from their rich history and mythology. As you know, there is Hindu mythology, Roman mythology. So the Greeks, they had their own mythology. So they took characters from Greek mythology and they wrote wonderful epics, poems, tragedies, comedies, and so on. So as ancient Greece was divided into three periods: Archaic period, Classical period, and Hellenistic period. Ancient Greek literature was also divided into three periods. The periods are same: Archaic period, Classical period, and Hellenistic period. So in every period, we see different writers, different philosophers, poets. So Archaic period in Greek literature. Number one, Archaic period in Greek literature. So in this period, poems were not actually written. There was no, writing system or paper. Paper was not available. So at that time, Homer, you have Homer's book, the Iliad, in this semester, you will study. So Homer's, the Iliad, and the Odyssey, these are the two masterpieces, amazing epics. So these two epics, Homer did not actually write. He orally shared, he orally told or described all these incidences, about events, about characters. So he just told orally, and his followers memorized all these lines, all these sentences. It's like when you were children, your grandmother, she used to, tell stories before you went to sleep. She used to tell you interesting, amazing, what should I say? I mean, fairy tales, stories. So after listening to those stories, uh, you happened to remember them. Did you forget those stories that you heard in your childhood, or do you still remember? Shadar, Didar, Mohi, hello, Mohi, can you hear me? Didar?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Okay, Didar, I asked you,
Sir,
yes,
I
Mohi,
didn't get my great mom.
you didn't get, Mohi, you didn't get what?
Uh, she was died when I was very child.
So you did not have a grandmother, right? Okay, another
She
thing,
was
I would like
yeah.
to know